Welcome back to Power Up with Pride 2023. Thank you all for sticking around through the tech issues. We had a big blow up happen over on the over with the computer that is powering this whole thing, but our amazing staff managed to get it all squared away. So put some claps in the chat for our tech team and the staff here at Power Up with Pride. They managed to get everything back on track. We're gonna jump right back into the run. Jenkar's running Transistor low percent. Jenkar, take it away.
So we were on the Sybil flight, and so we're going to start it right now. Sybil is one of the main RNG points of the run. She has several phases, and after each phase, she will spawn some mobs, which will help her in various ways. And so we're going to try to make it so that we don't have to deal with as many of them as possible. Unfortunately, that's a pretty bad spawn, so we are going to have to deal with quite a few weeds, which are these little things. And the weeds heal Sybil. We are going to be hunting a bunch of them as we go through, and while trying to kill Sybil as much as possible. We're going to be entering turn just to make sure we cancel out her attack so that we don't get hit. There we go. And that's the second phase done. We're going to try to make it so that the next mobs don't spawn too badly. This one is not in a good spot, but that's fine. Oh, okay, well, that's less fine.
This fight actually went substantially better during the disconnect.
Yep.
But hey, that happens, right?
So we have to kill the cheerleaders, and they spawn in perhaps the worst spots ever. Which means we had to go all the way around, kill a creep, and yeah. We are pretty good on the amount of health we have right now to kill Sybil. So we are going to be taking a crash here to get the final attack off. Crashes reset your turn gauge. We explained turn like quite a bit earlier. You have a delay between turns, and when you're in the delay, you can't do any other ability. But if you lose life by dropping to 0 HP while in turn recovery, you actually gain your roll gauge back, and so you're able to do things right away. And we do that on purpose there to be able to kill her slightly faster. So that RNG was a bit messy, but we pulled through. We did lose our reach ability, but that's fine. We'll regain it after 2 saves. And so now we're taking this little boat on the way to the next members of Camerata that Sybil kindly pointed the way to.
So lore-wise, Sybil is the one who fed information to the Camerata saying that Red would be alone in the alleyway. As punishment for her misinformation, basically the process was allowed to do their thing with her. So basically that's why she was half robot, half human. Well, 98% robot, 2% human. Wasn't quite half and half. So she was basically turned on by the Camerata for feeding them misinformation. In the sort of backstory, she's fallen in love with Red. She was one of Red's friends who fell in love with her and was always quite jealous of her and the narrator's relationship. But unfortunately for Sybil, she chose her alliances poorly, and we saw what happened.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Here we're going to have a very small skip. The narrator wants to lock us into a little dialogue here, but, you know, we're speedrunners. We need to move fast, so we're just going to mash turn to regain control and go away. And we're going to mash turn again. Now, you remember doors give you no clip. For some reason, some doors give you control a little bit before they give you collision back, and so you can mash turn to get collision back only in turn, and get no clip when you don't have turn active.
Just a different way that we get no clip storage. And here we're going to harken back to the first fight skip that we did, where we were just doing specific dashes in specific directions while standing in specific spots. It isn't going to look like Jenkar's doing very much, but by standing in certain spots just like that and dashing in certain ways, we will skip over not the fights themselves, but the triggers to spawn the boundaries of the fights. So a lot of these fights will actually activate, but we are able to ignore them. We are able to ignore this fight that we're heading into here. However, there is a door at the end of this map that will not unlock unless we have completed one of the fights. This being low percent means we want as little experience as possible, so we just simply complete the fight that is going to give us the lowest experience. It's not too bad of a fight. We are introduced to a new enemy called a clucker. It's one of the more annoying enemies, but thankfully it's not too bad in this scenario right here. Now Jenkar's going to do another little terminal storage like we saw earlier.
And we're going to end up on a little weed, and the weed is going to drain some HP. There's a less marathon safe strat where you actually only have a weed damaging you, and it's much faster, but you can spawn the fight boundaries for this fight and get soft luck. So we're going to...
We'd like to avoid that if possible.
Yeah. And so we're going to take this terminal that we're storing all the way to another door to gain no clip again and make our way to the end of the level.
And I really want to emphasize how difficult it is doing this movement without being able to see. Obviously, we get a little bit of border of vision on the outside of the terminal, but it is really, really difficult to make these sort of tight turns and find the interactables without being able to see. And there, we entered the door, we exited the terminal, and we entered turn all within the space of about 3 frames, which again allows us to store our no collision state, and we head through to the next area.
Here
this is Sorry?
We're going to take a little bit of a safety save. It also is going to allow us to regain our breach because it's the second save since we lost it. And that's going to be useful for this arena, which I'll let Cass explain.
Yeah, so this is a bit of an auto-scroller, and before Dane gets too excited, it's not the same sort of auto-scroller as you're probably used to. This one has a trigger. Once you defeat all the enemies, the elevator will stop. So there is an efficient way to do this auto-scroller. Basically, Jenkers knows exactly where the enemies are going to spawn and at what time they're going to spawn. And to do this optimally, you must be standing exactly where the final cell is going to drop before it drops. So we'll see if Jenkar can pull this off here. There's last 2 enemies are just going to be 2 snapshots, which do have quite a bit of health and move around a little bit, which is kind of annoying. But that was a very, very good elevator. A very, very good elevator. That triggers the elevator to end. So a few seconds after the fight, the elevator will reach its destination. If you just stay around in that fight, the elevator is never ending, which can be very problematic. And here we're going to see the first example of a save displacement. So the same way we did the door transitions and things before, we're going to interact with this little save terminal here while we're dashing. That save terminal won't pop up until the end of Red's dashes. And because it pops up in the middle of a fight, if we retry the game, it'll actually save our state and put us back in, reload the game with us already on the other side of the fight trigger. We're now going to do that exact same thing again, but we're going to interact with an elevator this time. This will send the elevator up without us in it, like we're an annoying little child at a hotel who presses all the buttons in an elevator and then gets out. This is going to send the elevator up without us on it. Normally, that would mean we're stuck, but for whatever reason, the elevator shaft itself doesn't have a boundary, I'm assuming because it doesn't expect us to be down here while the elevator is up. So we're just able to walk up the empty elevator shaft. That is important because on the elevator ride, there is a load state that puts the transistor into what we call drunk state. It's basically a corrupted state that the transistor has 2 states, corrupted and standard. If you can hear the game, he's talking a little bit strangely. He's not really making a whole lot of sense. And so by doing this, we're skipping a whole bunch of fights because the game is expecting the transistor to be in drunk state, but it's not. And what this will allow us to do is actually do a skip in the next area that is probably the biggest skip in the game. And if we hadn't done that elevator skip, doing this skip results in a soft lock. For whatever reason, by doing that little elevator skip, seemingly 2 minutes prior, avoids us getting a soft lock. So we're going to see, first thing we're going to see is Jenkar do a whole bunch of movements and start a sort of mini gauntlet, if you will, with the next boss. The next boss is called the Spine of the World. It's basically a giant snake, or spine, if you will, as the name suggests. She's then going to take a whole bunch of intentional damage to be put to 1 hit from dead, or 1 hit from emergency turn, as it is in this area here. We're then going to do another terminal storage. where we take fatal damage while having a terminal open, because this spine here interacts in a really weird way. When you open a terminal, it kind of pauses everything, but for whatever reason, this spine is not registered as a normal enemy, so it doesn't actually pause. So we can still take damage while we have this terminal open. Terminal's open, the spine hits us, we enter emergency turn, we exit out of emergency turn, returning the game to its normal state, and we're able to move again, which we normally wouldn't be able to do. Then by skipping all these doorways, again, this is another one where jenkar cannot see where she is going at all, and it's very, very impressive, especially with all these little white wall obstacles here. We're going to go through the door, close the terminal, and enter the turn state, all within about 3 frames, which is going to allow us to... What? There it is. Allow us to, you guessed it, we're out of bounds again. We can then dash the whole way up the side of this building rather than go the intended route and use stairs, which are very slow. We built ourselves an elevator, and we're just going to dash the whole way up. What this is going to allow us to do, you can all admire the beautiful backdrop here. The team at Supergiant really did put a lot of effort. If you were to play this intentionally, you would never see any of these assets. But they put it in there just to fill out the world a little bit more, I guess. There's some random platforms. We don't actually know what these platforms are here for, but they're there. And by doing it this way and not approaching through the intended way, we're actually able to use the door to escape the boss arena before the boss aggroes. Normally, the boss will aggro, the door will close, and we can't go through it until we defeat the boss. However, because we are approaching from the back side of the door, and doors open in 2 directions, we can get through the door without aggroing the boss, and we skip the entire boss fight.
Always a little bit scary. The hitbox for the boss fight aggro actually extends slightly out of bounds, so if your positioning is too far off, you can aggro the boss and not have the door active.
Yeah, very, 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 very difficult position there. And thankfully, we have another runner by the name of Sinner who mapped it out perfectly. The same way we mapped out Sybil Skip. He was able to map out exactly how many dashes we needed to do in which direction to put us exactly where we needed to be. But that was really, really clean.
And here we're going to have a little fight scape. Pretty easy. We're going to take a safety save. If you are sensitive to flashing light, please look away. We're going to be doing a lot of them right here. There we go. And you can look back. It's what we just did there is called an animation cancel. By spamming escape while Red was exiting that door, she never actually exited the door, and so this fight never actually activated, which means that we are not going to get the experience for this fight, which is pretty cool. Oh, didn't mean to do a breach here. Whatever. And we still need to do the fight because we need to unlock a bounce pad right after this arena. But we are not getting experience. We can be taking another safety save here. There we go. And do a frame perfect trick where we interact with a terminal 1 frame after interacting with a bounce pad. And then we use that terminal to regain control during another bounce pad, which gives us no clip and also faster movement speed. Unfortunately, the faster movement speed stops once we leave that level, which is a bit sad.
You get to run fast like Sonic for all of 3 seconds, and then we lose it. And Dan, we are about to give you time to do some messages and some donations, but I just want to point out that looked like it was jenkar just did that with such finesse, but that is seriously such a hard trick to pull off just like that. So that is, clap in the chat for that by all means. But Dane, would you like to pass up? Would you like to read some messages for us?
Oh, I would absolutely love to. We got, during the internet outage, we got a $25 donation from Aggie that says, "Good luck, Jen. You're going to do great. Royce, please no bully."
Yes, please no bully.
Royce.
And then Marine Monarch sent in $30 with the comment, "Let's get the custom texture showcase met for the cute mushroom Metroidvania. I'll take us halfway." And those 2 donations put us at $97 out of 100. We're only $3 away from getting this incentive met, and we don't have a lot of this run left. We are quickly approaching the end, so let's get $3 in for that last little bit of the lone fungus incentive. You can do it. I believe it, chat. Marine Monarch also, after that $30 donation, sent in another $20 donation with no comment. Thank you very much, Marine. And Chaotic sent in $75 that says, I was seeing if Discord will actually pick this up. It says, believe in tech. Believe in tech. Believe in tech. I don't think a Discord could pick up the clapping.
I'm sure you're clapping that. Yeah, no, it didn't pick it up.
We're not hearing it.
I didn't figure, but they put clapping into the donation message, so I thought I would at least try to see if it would pick it up.
Brilliant. Thank you. So
Thank you
what we
so
just
much,
saw there was another save displacement where jenkar did something a little different, where we actually unequipped all of our abilities with the exception of Jaunt. That is going to become relevant super soon. But before we get to that, there is a game we like to play here for people who have never seen this game called Spot the Kitty. There is a cat in this screen somewhere, and if you see it, you win internet points. But this is the top of Bracket Towers, where the home of Grant and Asher. Grant and Asher are two members of the Camerata and are actually husbands. It is revealed earlier through a bunch of terminals that we reveal. Grant and Asher are responsible for what's currently happening to Cloudbank at the current point, and being unable to, I guess, handle the guilt of the atrocity that they have unleashed on Cloudbank in the form of the process. They have decided to take matters into their own hands. Here we've got another neat little skip that jenkar actually made a hell of a lot more consistent. It's basically a cutscene overlap, where here we've got the fade out of us freeing the quote-unquote tamed process, as well as the narrator talking to us over the top of one another. Saves about 4 seconds, and super nice little time save. But now we're on our way back to the empty set. Had we played this intentionally, you would recognize a hell of a lot of the areas that we're about to revisit. This is a big backtracking section. But because jenkar is a glitch wizard, this is going to be the first you're seeing a lot of the areas that we're visiting. So this is all going to be brand new to you, which is nice and neat. And the removal of the abilities that we saw is a really neat way that Supergiant have prevented a soft lock. From where we took that elevator about a minute ago up until now, there is nowhere to re-equip abilities. You cannot change your loadout. So the game is going to immediately drop us into a fight here that has a level 3 fetch, which is a different type of enemy, a couple of weeds, and I think there's a clucker as well. But when the game drops you in, it recognizes that you don't have any offensive abilities, meaning you cannot win this fight. If you can't win the fight, you can't proceed through the game. So it just kills the enemies for you, and you don't have to do the fight, and it's really neat. So that's a nice little skip that anybody can try, even on a casual playthrough. It's actually quite an annoying fight. The level 3 fetch process have a stunning bark ability that will just breaks things. And here we've got another fight skip. This one is probably the hardest fight skip to do. But she's nailed it. Well done, jenkar. Well done. That is so specific as to where you have to stand and where you have to dash. That is an incredibly impressive that, I mean, the only thing that's gone wrong so far, aside from the stream crash, obviously, is some bad Sybil RNG. Everything else has gone perfect.
Unfortunately, the two big RNG points are basically where you lose all the time. The game is pretty deterministic other than the boss fights. And here we see a little door to the beach. Don't worry about it. We'll go to the beach later on. But for now, we're going to do a save displacement to keep having to do this fight. We're going to re-equip all the abilities we unequipped to skip the fight that Cass described. And we're going to move on with our life. Now, you may remember this zone. That was the second time we got an clip. And there's a bike that's sitting right here, but the bike is guarded by a man. And we're playing low percent. We're pretty pacific. We try to avoid killing people when possible. So we're just gonna not fight that guy. And instead, I think we've earned a little rest, and we're going to go to the beach.
I think so. I think Tech especially has earned a little rest. So Tech, this little game break is for you.
Also, I think we've reached incentive, right?
We have indeed reached the incentive.
So in this place, we are going to make a stray process. And this is a lovely dog, and we can play fetch with her with this big beach ball. And yeah, it's just very cute. We can pet the dog. The dog hunts the ball for us a little bit. This is the only time we actually get to see her in low percent. In any percent, we abuse her. Well, abuse. We use her to hell and back on Royce, the last boss. There's a glitch that is very powerful. Unfortunately, in low percent, we do not get the experience to unlock her. That spot was accidental. But now that we've gone to the beach, the game thinks we've actually dealt with the man. I like to think that the man recognizes that, we're cool and just lets us have the bike. But that allows us to skip the fight with the man and skip the experience that comes with it.
Yeah, for some reason, that man has basically two, or the bike has two, it unlocks in two different ways. One being we defeat that man, the other being we just go through a transition. So we would have gone to the beach regardless of whether the incentive had been met or not. We just wouldn't have summoned Luna. But because of you wonderful donors out there, we did get to play with Luna, which is my personal favorite part of the run. But no, we are back on the bike and we are heading towards another fan favorite character, Bob. Bob is... Actually, is Bob the first jerk that we see in this category?
No, there's one in sewers that drops us to 1 HP.
Oh, there is two. That's right. That's right. I forgot Sewers had one, which we don't really get to see it because we've got the terminal open anyway. But we're about to see Bob is a really interestingly programmed jerk, which is the name of the name of the process that we're about to see. He's going to pull us across a gap in the floor right now. But if we just don't move, he loses aggro on us altogether. There's a bit of oh, there we go. There's a tiny threshold of movement that you can actually reach where he will just never re-aggro you and he will just wander around aimlessly until you blow him up. So Bob faked it till he made it and then didn't really know what to do once he made it. So instead we like to tell Bob that it's better to believe it until you become it. And I think that's just a good life lesson for all of us. Also, we have another flashing light warning coming up, guys. If you are sensitive to flashing lights, please look away. This one's not as violent as the other one is, but we'd rather be safe than sorry. And I'll give you a heads up when you can look back.
Also, the amazing backdrop sadly has been replaced by a white screen from the process. Okay, I think we're good. Yep. And that allows us to skip a fight with two men, which is pretty painful, but also allows us to skip having to listen to Royce. Royce is the last antagonist of this game, and he has a problem. He likes to talk and he likes to hear himself talk, and we're gonna see that a lot throughout the run. It's gonna be a lot of time spent just listening to him talk, but this skip allows us to skip that, and I think around 40 seconds of fight and dialogue, which is pretty neat. And so with the power of the Transistor, we made this entire bridge. And so now we can go to Fairview, where Royce is waiting for us with maybe a solution to the problem of having the process around. Also, that terminal that we interacted with is basically the only reason to play in Chinese. It saves 4 seconds on that terminal, and that's the only place where it saves any amount.
Literally the only spot where we play the whole game in simplified Chinese simply for that one screen there that saves us 4 seconds. But now we are in Fairview. It's sort of a wild area, I suppose. It's unformatted data. It can be anything it wants to be, and is the home of the Transistor and the process. Again, another flashing light warning. If you have looked back, please look away again. Only for a couple of seconds. And you're good. Look back. Again, we just animation cancel there so that we don't spawn the fight boundaries and get around a 2-men fight. The men are really interesting. There are 4 different types of men. I'm going to try and remember their name. It's Shooty, Speedy, Sturdy, and another one. Its name I can't remember. But basically,
either, sorry.
Every one of them has a different haircut and a different colored hair, which will determine what their ability is. The tricky part with multiple men fight is every man shares its ability with every other man. So if you have a Shooty, a Speedy, and a Sturdy all in a fight together, all 3 will be able to turn invisible, all 3 will have ranged attacks, and all 3 will be able to move super quickly.
You listed all the ones we're facing right now.
Correct. So that's these ones here. We're going to take out the speedy one first, mostly because he is the easiest. And then what?
No, that's not going to work.
Look, and this fight can be so tricky. This is probably the only RNG fight that isn't a boss fight. Mostly because we are so insanely underleveled. We are pretty much at the end game now. I'd say we're probably 4/5 of the way through the game. We are level 4 of 20. So we're at about 1/5 of the level of end game while being 4/5 of the way through the game. So we will be finishing the game at this level. And we barely even scratched the surface of what's possible. Even on any percent, I think we finished the run at level 5. So there's so much more to this game than what you're actually seeing. And we've got a couple more extra fight skips, a couple more fight skips coming up here. One super easy one and then one super tricky one right after it. So we'll hopefully be able to get that through. But while jenkar is setting those up, Dane, will you have any messages for us?
I totally wasn't talking into a muted microphone just now.
No, absolutely not.
I would never do that. It was definitely didn't pause and unpause the wrong audio source. But yeah, we got a $150 anonymous donation with no comment, no problem at all. Thank you very much, Anonymous, for that donation. And just as a reminder, we still have some incentives that have not been met yet. The Chained Echoes run that is happening tomorrow. We've unlocked the game, but Moonblaze Wolf will do an additional glitched 80% run. We are at $300 out of $600, so we are halfway there. We still need another $300 in order to unlock that. And in the meantime, we still also have some other donation incentives to be met. We do have some bid wars going on. There's the option to choose Mario or Luigi for the Dance Dance Revolution Mario mix. And that run is coming up very shortly. It'll be right after Lone Fungus, which is coming up next after this run. And we also have the option to choose the starting Pokemon for the Pokemon Puzzle Challenge and name the Venonat for Pokemon Scarlet. Those are still, those incentives are still open, so get your donations in.
And so, rule-wise here, we did a bunch of skips, including safe displacement, which allows us to skip, again, a lot of Royce dialogue. It allows us to go through that wall area without having to wait for Royce to open walls for us. And we get to this point where we can plant our transistor into this giant transistor where it came from originally to, stop what the process is doing. Unfortunately, when we do that, we get absorbed inside the transistor. And Royce has done the same thing, and so he's also absorbed inside the transistor. And so we get treated to this absolutely beautiful scene with a transistor in the background of this beautiful countryside. And Royce is going to start by talking to us for, I think, roughly 45 seconds, which is a foreshadowing of what he's going to do during his fight. And he has a transistor, so he is going to be able to pause time. And unfortunately, he's going to be able to speak while he's pause time, or stare off into the distance. Sometimes his AI glitches and he stares off into the distance for 40 seconds. So we hope both of those don't happen. We also hope that we don't die. It's actually a pretty difficult fight with the equipment we have. So we have to be a little bit lucky, but play correctly, depending on what he does. So we're going to equip stuff, and I'm going to let Cass go.
Yeah. So the fight is incredibly RNG. I think between two different world record runs, jenkar saved 1 minute and 30 seconds on this fight alone, just to give you an idea. Basically, every phase, just like the Sybil fight, Royce has multiple health bars and multiple phases, and every phase he's going to unlock different abilities. The most problematic of which is called Mask, which will make him invisible. He can use Mask pretty much anywhere between 1 to 6 times a fight. If he uses it 6 times, that really sucks. I think the first practice run we ever did of this, he used it 5 times, and so we knew that it couldn't have gotten worse than that. But basically, you cannot route this fight. This fight is completely RNG. jenkar has to route on the fly, which is why I'm handling the commentary rather than them. So that's the first phase. Wait, was that first or second phase?
That was the first. We got really unlucky on the first phase. It's fine. Oh, he entered Mask there just after we ended turn. That's actually pretty good, because when he goes into turn, we don't have to deal with Mask again.
Yeah, Mask will run out after a short period of time, and if that time does continue to count down while he's in turn. And another thing you're going to see jenkar try to do here. Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
He's just going to stare off into the distance. There we go.
Yeah.
At least you're close enough for the crash to actually hit him. So when we do take crash, there is an explosion around us, which will do damage, which is nice, and that hopefully might finish him off. No,
apparently it doesn't do damage. We are going to be able to stun him, but I think he will regain turn. Oh, no,
well done. So another thing that we haven't really discussed yet is that when a turn, if you deplete your turn bar, at the very top you see your turn gauge. If you deplete it entirely, there's a bit of a second or two delay before it will start to refill. Whereas if you don't empty the bar completely, if you leave a little bit left in it, it'll start refilling way faster. So jenkar's try and use just the right amount of abilities to leave a little bit of turn left over in an attempt to let our turn gauge refill before Royce's turn gauge. If that happens, we can potentially get 2 turns off before he gets 1 turn off. And in this fight in particular, pretty much all the combat happens in turn. All the damage gets dealt in turn. So this is going to be the end of the third phase here.
Yeah, we got really unlucky here. And so damage, the game tells you you're going to be doing deadly damage during a turn. Sometimes it lies, and you don't. And then you cry. This is mostly due to enemies being able to do things that aren't planned for in turn, like turning around. So here we are not taking another crash. That's actually pretty neat.
That's good.
Oh, well, never mind.
Oh, okay. Now we're taking a crash.
We're definitely taking a crash here.
This is what bad RNG Royce looks like.
Never mind. We managed to get out of the load. This is actually beautiful. We might kill him before
no way.
Crash. Let's go. Wait.
Oh,
okay.
What? There we go. Well done. Well done. Clap for that. Clap for that.
So I was talking about how damage is inconsistent during turn. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. That is so funny. So that's the end of the Royce fight. We essentially, because we defeated him, we are freed from the Transistor and returned to what is now a completely formatted cloud bank. As the way the narrator puts it, we are currently sitting in we have a blank canvas, and we are the ones who hold the brush, being the Transistor. So we can rebuild cloud bank in any way that we see fit. Being the way that we are, we just return it to the way that it was prior. We are not one searching for any kind of control like the Camerata were. So we just begin to rebuild CloudBank the way that it was prior. We can basically return all the people who were processed. The only people we cannot return are the people who were killed directly by the Transistor. What that's going to do is, well, that's going to be relevant in just a few seconds. And you're seeing the little circle appear on the screen here. So jenkar, we use the accessibility feature that's built into Windows. I probably should have pointed this out earlier so you guys could have seen it better, but we use the Windows accessibility feature to press Control to highlight where the mouse is. In scenes like this, the cursor actually disappears, but it is still active. So we can use that accessibility feature to point, to figure out where our cursor is during cutscenes where we can't see it, which just helps us line things up.
Time.
Well done, mate. Well done. That was awesome.
Jeez.
If you are looking to avoid spoilers for the end of Transistor, this is exactly where you want to be looking away. But basically, Red decides that a cloud bank without her partner, whether it be her husband, her boyfriend, her lover, whatever it is not a cloud bank worth living in. So she decides to join him inside the Transistor. As we saw, it is actually quite beautiful in there. During the Royce fight, we have that beautiful countryside backdrop. Which again is foreshadowed a little bit earlier on. We don't get to see it because we're too fast. We don't get to hear it, rather. We're too fast. But basically, she decides that a life inside the transistor with him is better than a life in Cloudbank without him. So she decides to join him, much to his protests. We just get this beautiful, beautiful closing sequence going through the memories of their relationship together.
And while the credits roll, I'd like to do a few shoutouts. First, shoutouts to Cass for being an awesome commentator and for the GDQ run that got me into this game.
Thank you for inviting me.
No problem. Shoutouts to Sinner for doing an excellent tutorial for any percent. It actually is very easy to get into speedrunning this game thanks to that. Also, shoutouts to Finn for pushing me to run this category. Yeah, he's really a fan of all the skips in it, and yeah, it was really fun. Thank you for all the power with Fry team, for having me, for dealing with the tech issues. It's really appreciated. And also thanks to everybody that donates. It's really cool that there's so much support for this wonderful charity. And yeah, we're gonna have a lot of scenes of Red being with the narrator, her boyfriend, and a little scene at the end where we finally hear her voice.
And it's my favorite scene forever. And I would just like to let everybody know that Jenkar just mentioned literally every active runner of this game. We are such a small community, we don't even have a Discord. We literally just have a group message. If you are interested at all in learning how to run this game, we will literally hold your hand through every single step. This was the first game I ever learned how to speedrun, having no prior knowledge whatsoever. And it was just such a joy to join such a small community and just immediately get to know everybody. And of course, to Jenkar has come in and just completely revolutionized the run in such an incredible way, and is the current world record holder of both categories by a substantial amount of time as well. So it is really an honor to get to sit here and do this run with you, Jenk. I'm really, 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 really proud of you.
Thank you.
But I'm going to shut up so we get to hear the best voice line in the entirety of the game, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. I probably said that a little too soon. Now it's just like an awkward silence until we get to
Yeah, I was going to say.
I should have waited and been like, now we're going to listen to the best voice line in the whole game before we get the hell out of here.
And there we go.
Oh, it gets me every time. It gets me every time. Well done,
All right.
Jake. That was really good, Ren.
Alrighty, well, thank you both for that amazing run and that amazing commentary. Such a lovely game. It was a pleasure to watch, so thank you both. We are going to take a very short break, and then we are going to be jumping right back into it with the next run up, which is Lone Fungus Selfish Ending with Sawayoshi. Don't go anywhere.